Mindset Podcast. We're your guide as you make your way through life, getting better 1% every day. We believe that life is lived and true victory won through adversity. Nothing easy is ever worth it. We believe in the warrior ethos and support those that choose to walk that path.
And just like that, we're live.
So, I always have to start with something slightly off. And that's how every conversation we've had in like 15 years,
15
20,
years,
whatever.
million
Yeah.
Weird and unsettling.
When I hear that music, all of a sudden it just prompted the O Fortuna, the what's the name of that opera that sounds like demon music, but it's not really. Oh, Fortuna.
Oh yeah.
Oh, Carmina Burana.
Yeah, okay.
That was it was in the Doors movie.
Yeah, should I start with that?
Huh? Yeah. Just use that instead.
Just use that.
Yeah.
Don't have to pay any
Yes.
fees or anything.
Just so you know, Carmina Burana, the actual opera is about I think students in love.
Oh.
Yeah, it's not demon worship.
You sure?
That's what I read.
What's wrong with worshiping demons?
I don't know.
We all have demons.
I mean, again, like the first time I ever really heard of it was in the Doors movie back in the 90s.
Right.
And it was part of the Satan worshiping
Right.
scene
I remember
with
that
the witch
scene.
and everything. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
every 15-year-old boy remembers that scene.
yes, this is true.
So
we wanted to talk
what's
about something.
happening?
Yeah. It's been a little while.
Yeah. So
yeah, good to see you.
You too, man. It's been a hot minute. The best first.
We've lost everybody.
Yeah,
except for
first 2 minutes
opera
of my
aficionados
life.
who are going, he's a fraud.
Might be.
Okay. We have one or two topics that we were going to talk about, right?
Yeah. So self-improvement.
That sounds like a good one.
I suppose that's kind of why this whole podcast exists. But not really. But really. Yeah, so self-improvement through 3 different, I guess, modes of attack, right?
Yeah.
Controlling your mind, kind of a Jedi thing, I guess. Never stopping learning.
Yes.
And then being selfless.
Okay.
So let's dig in.
Let's do that.
So how do you control your mind, my friend? How do you
control my mind?
Get out of the shit. I mean, you're having kind of a bad day today.
Yeah.
No, you're not having a bad day. You're having a frustrating day at work day.
It's just more of there's a lot.
Yeah.
And so
an overwhelming
yeah,
plate of work day.
Yeah.
Work day.
Yeah. And so in order to deal with that, I said, hey, let's go to lunch and record a podcast.
Yeah, right.
Because the 15 hours worth of work I have left to do, sometimes stepping back from that is, stepping back from the things that you have to do actually makes it so that you can go forward into the things that you have to do. And that's a form of mindfulness of, again, whether that's journaling for you or, taking a vacation. Even when
I need one of those.
Oh yeah, same. But taking time away from the thing that you're doing, especially in the US, that we don't value vacations enough, but we value them too much, maybe. And excuse me.
Explain that.
Well, just like we don't value them enough because there are a lot of people, especially that, have jobs that are always going and going, don't, take I did not take the opportunities last year to go on vacation.
To vacate.
Right. And vacate your mind.
And
right. But I believe that, there are many studies that do say that, when you go and take that break from what you're doing, then you're able to come back fresh to it. And so we don't value it enough.
Right.
But then I think what we value about vacations is other things.
It can almost become competitive.
Yeah.
like competitive vacationing. Like,
Yeah.
I have to like see the most crap. You ever had trips like that
Yes.
where you're like, it's like, hey, we went somewhere really cool. It costs a lot of money to get here, so we're gonna see everything we can see in 7 days.
I'm a Griswold, damn it.
That's
There's
right.
like there's
I wasn't setting you up for
movies written about vacation in Griswold.
I wasn't setting you up for a
Yeah.
Griswold joke.
Yeah, and in fact, what is it? European Vacation,
Yeah.
where they're sitting there talking to the couple. Hey, have you seen the Louvre? No. And hey, have you done the? Because obviously all they've done is seen the hotel room.
Yeah, because they're newlyweds.
Yeah, and Clark goes to Rusty like, we've done like 10 more times things than they have. Yeah,
It's like, we have. Yeah.
But no, we
My
don't.
favorite part of that movie
Ready for this?
is where they spend the week, or they spend 2 or 3 days with the family. So they think
In
it's
Germany?
related to them. It's like next door to their actual family.
And I think I've told you before, they actually had to change the last name spelling from Griswold, Wold, which is the English version, and to say that they had German relatives, they had to do Wald, which is the German version of
Right.
that last name.
Right.
And then in Christmas Vacation, they change it back
They
to
change it back
Wold
because they live in America.
Yeah. But yes, we're looking for Zex, number 6.
Yeah.
and then the not aunt and uncle. Who the fuck was that?
Right.
So,
That's funny.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you're. I mean, if we're going by the list,
Yeah,
that has been so tediously written.
Yes.
By
this author.
Engaging in mindful activities. I mean, that's kind of like what you're doing, right? You're doing something different to kind of change the pace.
Yeah. Well, I think even you're doing something different to change the pace. Like even the Pomodoro technique. It works on that aspect just like a vacation does.
What is the Pomodoro technique? Because I think I know, but I don't think I actually know.
It's where
Pomodoro.
It's you work for 25 minutes and then you totally take a break, vacation,
Yeah.
vacate your mind, doing absolutely the opposite or nothing to do with what you're just doing for 5 minutes. And then you go back and you do another 25 minutes, and it's 25 and 5, 25 and 5.
You got it right. That's awesome.
And I forget the guy who came up with it, but it's Pomodoro because it was based
William Pomodoro.
Was it really?
I don't know. I'm
no. Now you're making me second guess myself. It was called Pomodoro because the guy that came up with it, is that right? He was observing how his Pomodoro plant, his tomato plants. He's Italian.
Pomodoro.
Yeah.
Don't get mad at me if you're Italian.
No. Well, I work with 2 of them, so if I don't get in trouble for half the things I do in an Italian accent,
wow,
you'll be fine. But I think it was the observation of, just like the Pareto principle, the 80-20, that anyway, I probably got it again, just like the Karmina Varana. And
so do you do that? I mean, you do that the Pomodoro technique when you work? I
used to, and then I stopped for a while, and then I found how ineffective I was not being, and then I go back and do it. I have
so this is a tool that you keep in your tool belt to kind of bust out what you need to.
Yes, and
to focus, but you're having trouble focusing. See, there you go, self-improvement.
Yes, well,
right there, folks.
I do that. So if I know that I've got like a 3-hour block of just stuff to do,
get shit done,
then I do find that I mean, like, you may call BS on flow state and things like that, but I've actually experienced it by doing that. Plus, there's on YouTube, there's a Green Red Productions.
It's like a Pomodoro timer.
Well, no, it's not that. It's a deep focus music for study and improve your focus.
Yeah, you told me about you told me about that.
Yeah. And all it is I think I said too, it sounds like Duran Duran's Mad World. But it's just it's a constant loop, and I just have it on in the background, and they play I mean, this has been playing continuously for years as far as I know.
Wow.
And between that and then 25-5, 25-5, I can go a couple hours and
getting it done, baby,
and really get things done and feel like I actually got somewhere. And if but if I'm doing the same type of thing without those 2 things, to also give my mind that break for even 5 minutes, I get nowhere. So,
Mm.
so, you know, and in that 5 minutes, it might be taking a 5-minute walk,
Yeah.
around the co-work, around your house, whatever it is, 5 minutes of meditation and just breathing. I mean, I'm looking at the article that you're talking
Yeah.
about, eating mindfully. Yeah.
Yeah. So practicing meditation, taking mindful walks,
Mhm.
eat mindfully, engage in mindful practices, practice gratitude. So those
Yeah.
are the 5 things that I kind of brought out, but there's a ton more.
Yeah.
But it is just to take a second or a minute and like focus on what the hell you're doing.
Yeah.
I know a lot of times when I'm like you're saying, you're like working on some stuff and it's like, shit, I gotta get this done. I gotta get the kid or whatever. And you get kind of like overwhelmed and just like, there's all this shit. What do I do?
Yeah.
And it does help to just kind of like whatever you have to do something else to take
Right.
your mind off of it, but to kind of prioritize somehow.
Yeah. And
know?
then it can, just like a vacation, it can help you like
Mhm.
have some more steam going back in. And yeah, and because, I told you that I'd been listening to, because apparently I can't read anymore, but listening to Atomic Habits,
Yeah.
James Clear, and like one of the main things that, or one of the things that he says is that the whatever the time is that you have for something, that the work will happen within the time. It expands the time,
Yeah.
or whatever, that I forget what's
Yeah.
principle it is,
The
but
time it
like,
takes you to get done fits
yeah,
in the time that you have to do
right.
it.
If it's 1 minute or if
Yeah.
it's 1 hour, guess what?
You
you
can
will-
kind of like sometimes, and I'm not self-aware enough to like have gotten any farther than just to know that sometimes it works, but like you can sort of hack that, whatever that principle is, you can sort of hack that where like, well, I gotta get this thing done.
Mhm.
And I'm just gonna set this deadline. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And if you have to have some sort of discipline to actually not blow the deadline and just be like, whatever, I'll move it. But and it, like you said, the amount of work you need to get it done kind of always seems to fill in the right timing that
Yeah.
you had to do it. You
Yeah.
can hack that.
And yes,
It's
you
like
can.
a passive aggressive project manager technique
It
as
is.
well, to like tell your team that it's due 2 days before it's actually due.
Are you talking about me? Because that's what I used to
I
do
know
to
that's
our
what you used
team.
to do.
I'm like, hey, yeah, this is due
Yeah.
next week.
Yeah,
But you actually had 3 weeks to do it in.
Yeah, and then when it actually doesn't get done in that time frame, you're like, oh, it's terrible, but I bought you another day.
I do that with my kids all the time. I was like, we have to leave by 12,
Yeah.
knowing that we have to leave by 12:30,
Right.
knowing that we'll
Right.
leave at 12:15.
I have a friend that if we're gonna meet him at 12, we tell him we're meeting at 11.
Yeah.
Because he'll be there at 11:45, and I'm like, cool, he's early.
Then you've set them up for
Yeah,
success.
yeah, right.
And they feel better about
They have no
themselves.
idea though. That's what's funny about it.
That's awesome. Parkinson's law. Parkinson's law is the old adage that work expands to fill the time allotted for its completion.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's why that 25 minutes, like, you can get a shit ton of stuff done in 25 minutes, or you can get absolutely nothing done in 25 minutes. But
Yeah.
having the artificial deadline,
It can help.
it can.
Yeah. Kind of like beer at a party. They will always drink the amount of beer you have for as long as the party lasts.
Yeah. Yeah. Once the keg is tapped,
And
then
they're
you were
leaving.
done.
Yeah.
Exactly. There's no more party.
All right. So positive thinking. So that one, I've had feedback. I've gotten feedback before about
You?
positive thinking parts.
You?
And it's like, you kind of, on a certain level, you kind of are what you think, right? Kind of like, you ever bought a car and then like you suddenly see,
Yes.
everyone has the same damn car I have.
Yes.
Like,
Everybody has a Kia Sorento that's
right. There's
wolf gray right now.
But you know how many Kia Sorento Wolf Grays that I see in the world? Like one. This is the last time I saw you.
Mine, yeah.
So it's like you will find what you're looking for. You know what I mean? So I kind of believe that though.
Yeah.
And I believe it's stronger in the other direction.
Mhm.
It's kind of like you can get 20 compliments.
Yeah.
But then you get the one negative compliment, and that's the only one you'll hear.
Yeah. It's not a compliment. It's a negative
Yeah, that's what I meant.
Yeah.
The negative feedback.
Yeah.
Like it kind of works stronger in the other way.
Yeah.
Right. So like identifying what those things are, like what is it that's giving you this negative or this anxiety or whatever? What is that thing? What is that trigger? You know, I think that's important to do.
Who is that person?
9 times out of 10. And then challenge those things, right? You have to challenge what they are. You have to investigate them.
Yep.
You know, find out like, is it even real? Because I have to think that like 9 times out of 10, it's probably not even real.
No,
Yeah.
that's the thing that I've said about even people in my life that I love very much is like, why do you worry? Like if you can't do anything about it,
Yeah.
you can't,
Yeah.
it may
Yeah. You
sound
see those flow
dumb, but
charts on Instagram. It's like
yeah,
the two, like,
yeah.
it's kind of funny.
If I could, if I could do something about it, then I don't have to worry about it. If I can't do something about
What
it,
are you
then
doing?
I don't have to worry
Yeah.
about
It's
it.
very stoic.
It's not, yeah. But that's obviously not in practice. It's a lot harder to
Very
deal
hard,
with.
yeah.
And so yeah, it's easier to have those negative thoughts.
Mhm.
And it's hard to challenge your. I think out of everything that I see listed on here, the hardest thing to do is challenge your negative thoughts.
I think so. So like the next 3 in the list, it could kind of be like 2, 2A, 2B, 2C or whatever.
Sure.
But practicing positive self-talk, surrounding yourself with positive people, and then focusing on the positive. I know it sounds like a lot of the same shit, but like it takes a lot of effort to overcome something negative, I think.
Mhm.
Much less something that's like warrantedly negative.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it's like kind of like social justice warriors where it's like they're getting upset on behalf of other things. I mean, you can kind of like go down that rabbit hole of being negative about things on behalf of things that are negative that haven't actually happened yet, which is, I think I just described anxiety.
Yeah.
But
True.
but do you do that? Do you practice any positive self-talk? I know it's big in like athlete
Yeah.
mindsets. I know it's like Navy SEAL thing,
Yeah. Well, I mean,
looking good, feeling good, ought to
Right.
be in Hollywood.
right.
Thanks, coach.
Well, no, but that's actually like,
I remember the first time I heard that from him, and I was like, "That's fucking dorky." Like you're my hero, and you just said something really dorky. But and I used it, and I was like, it actually kind of worked.
it's what it is a I mean, like back to the atomic habits, it's a mechanism that you can use to just reset your mind.
Yeah.
And even if you find it's hokey, then guess what? You've just gotten out of that
Yeah.
deep,
Yeah.
intense.
Now you're focusing on the hokiness.
Yeah, exactly. Like,
Yeah.
God, that's so stupid. Oh, now I'm not thinking about the negative thoughts
Yeah.
necessarily. I mean,
What do you do?
I mean, excuse me. Sometimes I've done what an athlete might do, like, all right, come on, let's get it,
Yeah.
like something like that.
Yeah,
Or,
yeah.
or if it's like in the moment, like, this is not always good when you're having a debate with somebody and they look at you like, what's wrong with you? But I sometimes just stop, and not because I'm frozen, but I want to take that 30 seconds, a minute to make
Mm,
sure that, like, I'm not just I mean, some people say count to 10
yeah.
and breathe, but I want to take that breath to just go, do I want to continue to go down
Yeah.
this way? And especially if it's in an argument
Right.
where the things that you say, if you say them without thinking about them,
Yeah.
can
You could deal
seriously
with that for
hurt
the next
you.
couple of weeks. Yeah.
Yeah. But if that argument's with yourself and you're beating up on yourself, then just taking that beat, taking that breath is you have to figure out a way that, you know, I guess, the words would be in the middle here. If you're in the shit, whether that shit is in a military sense or if that shit is an argument or if that's like, even this morning,
Yeah.
beating myself up like I've got
Right.
all this stuff to
Right.
do. Why am I not there yet? Like taking that beat and just saying you you cannot do it all.
Yeah.
You cannot continue. Like I would say that, some people might look at me and go, he's pretty aloof about things and everything. Just you don't care,
Yeah.
but I care,
Yeah.
but I have to find a way to if I let everything that I know is coming from every single point,
Right.
from everywhere else just totally hit me at the same time, then guess what? You are going to fold in. I mean, that's
Yeah, it's gonna happen.
yeah. But if I can stop for a second, then you know, it's just taking that breath.
Yeah. That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's just it's positive self-talk. I mean, it's whatever
Yeah.
tool that kind of resets that loop.
Yeah. Oh, every morning, I told you about the affirmations I do and the gratitude things I
Yeah,
do at
yeah.
night to go to bed. But the majority of the time I wake up, and especially if I know it's going to be a tougher day,
Yeah.
and I just start with today I decided to be happy, healthy, wealthy, wise, and free. That's a reset button for
That's
me.
cool. Because you've been doing it long enough.
True. And
Like-
and that's my mantra to get going. And sometimes I have to say it to myself like 5 times in a row
Mhm.
just to believe it. So, like, okay, I decide to be, I am, I don't know, like, okay, no, like second, third, fourth, fifth time, like, okay,
Yeah.
now I can go.
What about surround yourself with positive people?
Yeah.
I mean, I 100% believe that you are made up of the people that you spend time with.
Mhm.
I don't know how you couldn't.
You're a more positive person than when we first met.
Oh, am I? Oh, okay.
Sure as shit, because I know the people that you spent 100% of your time
Right.
with
Right.
then, and
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
it is what it is.
It is what it is. Yeah.
And
Yeah. I mean, you have to engineer that. I mean, you do have to engineer the people you surround yourself with. You
Mhm.
might be stuck, like these might be the people you spend your time with because it's your job.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And you might not be able to necessarily get away from these people
sure.
or that person or whatever every day, but you have to find ways to surround yourself with, I don't know, people you want to aspire to be, or people that can lift you up, or people that just will listen without judgment, like whatever that is.
Yeah.
You got to find out how to do that and how to spend that time with.
Yeah. Well, in success training, the gurus out there, whatever, you always hear also that the level of your success is based on your 5 closest friends.
I agree with that.
But it's the same thing with your thinking. Like if you have 5 closest friends that are negative, then
Yeah.
you're probably going to be at that level. And that's not anything to say with like those people are bad. It's just if you continue, I mean, if you're in an abusive relationship, forget the 5 friends. If you're in an abusive relationship, if you're in an abusive household, with parents or things like that, you're always going to hear the same negative things that are coming towards you. And how can you get away from that unless you're
Right.
actually get away from that?
Yeah.
And that's hard too.
Yeah.
It's finding new friends is not easy,
No.
especially
Especially if you have high standards.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah. And then and I will say that I've been drawn to multi-level marketing when I was younger.
Yeah.
Because
of the camaraderie and the circle of friendship. Yeah.
and everybody seemed positive, but
Well, that's because they're trying to sell you some shit.
well, and that may have been the case, but at the same time, like that did open my eyes to like, okay, it doesn't all have to be
Right.
like, everything's doom and gloom.
Right.
And,
sure.
And so, so I don't need somebody to be, all positive and not be realistic.
Yeah.
That can be hurtful as well.
And let's be clear, that's not what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not talking about like that person that's always so fucking happy.
Yeah.
You're like, what's wrong with you? Are you
Right.
high all the time? Like,
Or you're lying.
yeah. And I think if you were to boil it down, most of the time it would be because it's like not real. But
or maybe they're going through a phase of they're faking it till they make it too.
Yeah.
So
but you can be positive or generally aspire to be a positive person without being like obnoxious
or fake.
Yeah. Which to me, fake and obnoxious kind of thing.
Sure. No. It's
because those people, I mean, when I spend time around those people, I wind up they wind up being like positivity vampires for
Yeah, it's
me.
draining.
And I'm just like, fuck, like, how come you seem happy and you're like sucking the happiness out of me? Like, it just happens.
I get it.
Um,
Yeah, it's. I'm not saying that you should stay in the middle at all. Like it should be on the positive side of the
sure,
middle.
sure.
Because unless your energy is one of those people that is up all the time,
Right.
then fucking be up
And
all the time.
yeah, and there are
and be
people that are
around the
like that.
people that are up all the time.
There are people that are like that. Yep.
Yeah, and but
Yep.
but
And that's
but
I'm
that
grateful for
I-
people like that.
but again, that's like we said before. Running on jet fuel versus like
They're all in crack.
yeah, exactly. In a good way.
So never stopping learning. What do you do? I mean, we're talking about self-improvement. I mean, that's like painfully obvious. Like, duh. Like,
Is it?
don't stagnate.
No, but
But
the majority of people don't do that.
yeah, you're right. Yeah, I mean, something. It's a little bit more that like, it's that something is never perfect, right? And like, I get perfectionism. Like, you want to strive to be perfect, right?
Yeah.
I think it's a noble effort to try to be the best you can be.
Sure.
But to think that it is actually attainable is like, that's a fallacy. But like, I think you're right. People will get set in their thing, and then it's kind of like, this is what I do.
Yeah.
And I'm really good at it. And that's pretty much it.
I went through a period of that a couple of times.
Yeah. And you feel stagnated and you feel like, oh, the industry is so boring or whatever. And it's like, well, it's just because you are just like set in your ways.
Yeah. Well, I mean, even today, over lunch, I told you that like, all the, it's not shit. It's just business. It's a whole bunch of things that have to happen all at the same time, and they're all top priority. That, like, the reason why it's probably affected me the way that it is right now is because I am actively growing right now and growing in my role, growing in how I'm dealing with things, and I'm having to learn how to work better with the people, like, new people in our team.
Yeah.
That I don't, they're not part of the team that I manage. They're part of the team that, I'm peers with.
Yeah.
And, and also, dealing with, my boss is cutting his time on some of the things that we're doing. So like I have to learn in order to grow so that, I can make the decisions that I need to make, not only on a daily basis, but on a strategic basis as well. And that's painful right now. It can be. Learning can be painful.
Yeah.
And learning is not just to become always better at something or learn something new to go in a different direction. It can actually be painful.
Yeah.
And that's what was it? You have growing pains, you'll have learning experiences, that they're put that way because, like, they can't be painful.
Yeah. Andy Frisella, I don't know if you listened to the
You told me about him.
what the hell's the MFing CEO podcast
Yeah.
or whatever. I think he's changed the name of it. But he talks about oh shit, what is it? Like a mistake in business. It's like tuition. Like, he just paid tuition.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, and I really like how he reframed, like, he's talking about, but it's life too. But like, you make a mistake in business and it costs you money. Like, that's your tuition payment to not make that mistake again.
This is true.
Like, you've got to have been paying attention. Like, learning can be painful. Sometimes the best lessons were kind of painful, and that's what makes them stick.
Yeah. Well, I was supposed to reach out to somebody like 2 days ago, that dealt with a possible sponsorship sales.
Yeah.
And my boss was like, "Why didn't you reach out to him?" Like, "Because I have all these top priorities that I have to do at the same time." Right. He's like, "Yeah, but this should be a top priority because
X, Y, and Z."
Well, because also, like, you've let things go cold over 2 days when they were expecting to do something right then.
Yeah, you gotta get them.
Yeah, and it's like, it was the my learning and my pain was like, fuck you.
Yeah.
I mean, that's where it was.
Yeah. But then when you take that breath and you like reframe the problem, you're like, oh, he's actually
Yeah. Well, and not, not that he was totally right. No,
right.
no, but his framing of what I was not seeing right there, because he engages a lot in sales, whereas I
Yeah.
engage a lot in marketing,
Right.
and they're
They're different.
They're different,
Yeah.
and my timeline for things are a lot longer than his can be for sales.
Right.
And so when I took that framing, and so this was the messaging was done on Slack. So he messaged them and said, "Hey, he actually said, I didn't do a proper transition, over to me,
Yeah.
and let's
So
get this thing." And then, but I came in right after him. I said, "Listen, this is, you know,
mm,
what do I try not to apologize anymore, but I do say, thank you for your patience." Um,
that's very good.
but
It's another reframing
yes,
practice.
yes. Because then I'm not apologizing for everything, what seems like all the time. But thank you for your patience. I dropped the ball on this, and and I'm sorry that this was a time delay on
Yeah.
my part. You know, eager to work with you on it. So that was a small painful moment of
Mhm.
learning. That was like, okay,
Yeah.
now I know for the next one, like if
I jump on that shit right away.
if the
Got it,
iron if
boss.
the iron's hot, then
Yeah.
do it. And and I just wasn't in that frame of mind at the
Yeah.
time.
Hmm.
So yeah, never stop learning, because there can be pain while you're going through the learning, but
Yeah.
I think that the pain, the long term, that's short term pain.
Yeah.
I own up to my mistake. I
Yeah.
learn what I not to do, but the real pain from
Yeah.
not learning
It'd be kind of
is
expensive. Yeah.
a lifetime of pain.
Yes.
Yeah.
100%.
And there are a lot of people that go through that never improve, and
Yeah.
they're where they were. I know some people that are like they're still doing the exact same thing they were when I left them 10 years ago,
Yeah.
doing the exact same thing. And
So another painfully obvious way to learn, and I think probably I'm going to take self credit. I think the way I've been able to expand my, I want to say, professional network exponentially is by finding mentors.
mm,
And I'm curious, like in this new role, in this new, the past like 2 years, whatever you've been working, what have you been doing? I feel like I'm putting you on the spot, but what have you been doing to kind of look in that direction? Because I know you're doing some new things.
yeah.
You know, I mean,
Um,
not that you've never been a leader. You've owned your own businesses. I mean,
yeah.
in many ways, you've
I've been at the top.
as many.
And
That's not what I meant, but
yeah.
I mean, in many ways, you've owned and run businesses on a deeper level than I have,
Mhm.
because you've been sort of on the production level of management and stuff. And I've never really done that, but
Yeah.
which is totally different than managing creative people. Like it's totally different. But
Yeah, that's true.
I'm not sure which one's harder. But what have you been doing? What have you been looking at? I mean,
Well, I think there was a while back that I told you that my CTO, when she came in, um, I think I even said, I was a little apprehensive because I didn't know what she was doing.
mm,
I didn't have visibility on, like I needed visibility on what she was doing.
right.
Just let's be clear, I wasn't on the leadership team at that time, but I was like, I don't know what she's doing.
Yeah.
And she was
Well, I mean, it makes a difference.
but I didn't see her actioning on things.
Sure.
And but then what I find out later is like she's taking the time to learn how things are working,
Hmm.
so that when she does start to put her foot into things, it's one, not stepping over everybody and just saying this is how we're going to do things. Two, it's a measured she starts having measured responses, so because she's been able to observe and then act proactively, not reactively.
Sure.
Um, and so, once kind of got over that, then, then I started listening to her. And then, like, we were in person for an event, and, and we sat down, had lunch, and, you know, and, she talked about what she had seen of me in like, X number of months. And she's like, you know, here's what I'm seeing. You tell me if it's right.
Yeah.
And and when we walked through all of that, like, then I was like, this is kind of nice because I've got somebody who's mentoring me, and I didn't even really ask them to.
Yeah.
But she wasn't doing it in a way that she's like, I'm going to tell you how you need to do things. So
Ooh, that's cool.
yeah, so I backed
It's like
into
a
it.
ninja
Well,
mentor.
it is, yeah, and she's good at it.
Yeah.
But so I backed into having a mentor, without really seeking one at the time
Yeah.
when I probably needed one.
Yeah.
And so now her role has changed to COO. As I became head of marketing, and then we have a new CTO, and but like, I- now I say she's more like a sister. She's a friend too. She's more like a sister, to how we correspond with each other and everything. But I still try to. I think she's probably like 10 years older than me.
Okay.
That's helpful as well.
Yeah, I got a little more experience.
Yeah, and but I've been able to, as much as say she's a friend, she's like a sister, that I also go, but if there's sometimes where I have to step back and go, I need her to be a mentor on some of these things. Sometimes I just need her to be my fucking therapist. But I need her to be a mentor on some of these things, because there are things that, I still don't understand about corporate world.
Right. Right.
Coming from small and medium-sized businesses.
Yeah, it's very different.
Yeah. And so, and then, like, the kind of cool thing was, at the beginning of this year, I was reformulating some of what we're doing in the marketing plan, and just in, to teach my team, I was going through and showing them, like, what I thought, one, what a sales and marketing funnel is, two, how I thought that if, went to our personas and our segments and
Mhm.
everything that we already deal with, so that we can map things out together. And then three, how that eventually turned into a flywheel, virtuous circle and everything, blah blah blah. But it was just more an exercise of, like, mapping this so that I can have terms to tell my team, this is for this particular piece of content, we are going to be marketing to the top of the funnel, the tofu, the top of the funnel, um, to to non-members that are developers,
Yeah.
something like that.
Right.
And this other piece might be to somewhere else in the funnel. And the funny thing was, like, she's, everybody has access to everybody's, stuff in our G docs and everything. And she started going through that. And then, like, during one of our next meetings, she's like, I never knew what the fuck that stuff meant. I never knew what a marketing funnel was. I'm so glad that I went through your
Wow.
piece. And so, she was learning from me on the
Yeah.
things that,
Right.
so now when we talk about, the planning that we're doing, I can say, hey, like,
Yeah.
the thing that you're talking about right here, that's at our top of the funnel. The thing that we need to maybe focus on is at our middle of the funnel or the bottom of the
Right.
funnel. She now knows what that means,
Yeah.
because she kind of back-ended I got a little bit of mentoring
Yeah.
to
Right.
her
Right.
on things in marketing that will help her be better at her job.
I think that's a good story, because people think that mentors need to be like the sage
Yeah.
or the guru, but you can sort of. I mean, mentor is a big word.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? It can be friends.
Yeah. Yeah,
You can learn from each other.
but it can, like, if you're in like, I've been in mentoring relationships before,
I've been in official ones, yes.
yeah, and there have been times where I have learned just as much from that person
Right.
that I was able to take away and go, "Oh, that's interesting."
Yeah.
I didn't think about that because I wasn't looking at it from maybe a beginner's mind or
That's right.
something like
Right.
that, like this person is. So there should be a reciprocal nature
Mhm.
of being a mentor as opposed to being a mentee. Yeah, I think that it's a powerful word, and that there probably aren't more mentors out there for people, because they think that it's only one, it's not bi-directional, it's just
Yeah.
single, um
Yeah.
one direction.
I knew what you meant.
Yeah.
Bi-directional. Um,
I don't know.
yeah, I mean, I have mentors that don't even know I exist.
Yeah,
You know
exactly.
what I mean?
Yeah.
All the way to, like, I have people that are like, I pay.
Yeah.
I'm giving them money
Yeah.
to spend 30 minutes a month with me.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? And talk about
exactly.
my shit, like the whole spectrum.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it took it actually I didn't quite understand those relationships could be like that until, I mean, it was like 10 years ago or whatever, but like, you know, the whole course of my life is like, one fourth of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it took me a while to figure out that like it doesn't have to be so official.
Hmm.
You know what I mean?
This is true.
You know,
Well, every book you read or listen to, depending on what you take away from that book,
yeah,
that person has become a mentor to you.
right.
And I'm just thinking back to the Atomic Habits. Like,
If you carry it with you
yeah,
and you begin to like bounce the way you live off of some of these principles,
yeah,
absolutely.
yeah,
And
and
you identify with the author,
right,
100%.
and even if it's a nugget that you take forward, like the
Mhm.
one nugget that I've taken away from Atomic Habits was, um, what was it? We rise to the level of our systems. We fall to the level of our
Training.
no
Oh,
was
I was thinking combat.
we we don't rise to the level of our goals. We fall to the level of our systems.
Huh.
Yeah,
You can probably frame that any way you want. It's the same concept.
true. And
But I dig
yes,
that. That's
yeah,
true. Yeah.
yeah. It's the
No shit.
you can have a goal, but that goal means nothing unless you're
You got to support it.
actually doing
Yeah.
something daily, that 1% to
Yep.
get
You got to
better.
prop that shit up.
Yeah, exactly.
100%.
But that's that I like to two things from that. The other one, I think I read it to you earlier, was freak. What was it? Success at some point comes down to who can handle boredom of training every day, doing the same things over and over every day. Really successful people still have the same like and motivation that other people have. They just find a way to show up and do it every single day.
It's
It's
so sexy.
but that's a system. It's it is not sexy at all, and that's the whole point.
The best martial artists on the planet do the same shit over and over and over and over and
That's what a
over.
kata is, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Over and over and over and over and over. Yeah. And you do it to the point where it's like you don't even think about it.
Yeah.
You can talk about your day while you're doing it.
Mhm.
That's the level you need to get to.
Right.
It's interesting. I wanted to sort of, as the article shifted,
Mhm.
talk quickly about being a good mentee.
Yeah.
Like on the other side of that,
Don't
and
be a
I've had,
dick.
well, I've had some people that were not the best mentees,
Mhm.
and I'm like, maybe I didn't even aware that I was being a mentor. Like,
Mhm.
what's going on? But just some of these basic things: be open and receptive to feedback and advice. Be proactive and take initiative. Some
Mhm.
of these are obvious, but they need to be said.
They're not always
Communicate
obvious.
openly and honestly, and show appreciation and gratitude.
First of all, when you say that these things are obvious,
They're not.
they're not. And remember, I said earlier that there are signs up that say danger. You could
Yeah.
drown and die if you do
Yeah.
this, because people have drowned and died
Yeah.
because things weren't as obvious as you think they are.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, no, being receptive, being open. I mean,
Well, I think about teaching and being taught in the martial arts
mhm,
a lot when I was thinking through this section. The best students are the ones that are just like what you said. They're able to show up, do the same. Like if we did the same thing every day for a week and put the same effort into it every time,
yeah,
those are the best students, because they get it and they get those things we just read out.
mhm,
And then the worst ones are the ones that you have to show them something new every time,
right,
because they're just like focused on the wrong things.
yep,
I think this is the same thing of a mentee. If that person is taking their time and they tell you the same thing every time you meet with them, probably means it's pretty important.
yep.
You know what I mean?
This is true.
And maybe there's something more to it than what you're capable of understanding at the moment.
Yep.
You know?
I'm gonna take it into the dance world for a second.
No, it's good.
Uh,
It's probably not that far off from martial arts, but
No, well, no, because any athletic pursuit definitely is. Um, but I told you we just signed up my youngest daughter for
yeah.
a summer intensive that's 5 weeks long, and it's at a school that like it's she's going to have her mind blown. It's going to be great. There's going to be a whole bunch of newness to what she's doing in it. But there is a place that she went to that sometimes, the artistic director will say that, I really want, this particular child to go to this other one, even though it's not the most
Hmm.
seemingly interesting place. Is a place up in central Pennsylvania. It's like CYPB or something like that. But it's a what they do there is they work for if it's 2 weeks or 5 weeks, whatever the program is, they work on the basics of ballet
Mm.
every single fucking day.
Right.
And listen, if
they get
you're
really good though, don't they?
well, if you're 9, 12, 15 years old, you may think that that's horrible,
Right.
but they work on the same thing every,
Mhm.
like your turnout needs to be a better turnout.
Right.
Whatever a turnout is, I'm still not quite sure.
I
and I've
don't
been
know,
around
but I'm
this fancy-
following.
yeah,
I'm
exactly.
with you.
Yeah, but
I support you.
yes, but you know what a pirouette is.
Maybe.
Okay. Some other people in the world might not. Anyway,
It's a spinny spin.
it's a spinny spin. But like, can you do a pirouette, half a turn, full turn? Can you go 5 times in a row? And when you
Definitely
do
not.
that, and where are you supposed to be looking every single time? You like,
Yeah, I've
have you
seen
seen dancers
I've
like
seen the head.
their
Yeah,
head whips and stops, whips and
it's
stops?
the same in martial arts.
Yeah. And uh, and so, but they work on like, even if you're 15, guess what? We're working on that one turn,
Mm.
not the 5 turns for that particular program, because if you can, you know, bang out that, then you're going to be have a more solid foundation,
Yeah.
even though it might not be as fun. And just like you said with some of your mentees, that
Yeah.
like everything has to be new all the time. And I got, well, guess what? They've not mastered anything.
Exactly. You haven't learned the one basic thing.
Right.
What do they say? Professionals don't practice until they get it right. Professionals practice until they can't get it wrong.
Right.
I put that on
Oh,
a t-shirt.
yes.
Dig it. Wow, that's cool.
Yeah.
So the last bit, probably the most important part, on the road to making yourself a better person is being selfless.
Hmm.
This is one that like it kind of burns me up.
Yeah.
When someone does something for me and it's got that like undertone of like, one day I may call upon a favor, sort of a thing under there. You know what I mean? I'm like, what? Never mind.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't want to walk around owing people shit.
Mm-hmm.
But somehow, sometimes people can do that and make you feel that way.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
I do. I went through this yesterday.
oh, did you?
Yeah.
It's just, I don't know. It could be that, I'm thinking about my father a lot, and he had a way of like helping you, and it never felt like you owed him a thing.
Mm.
Like, and I try really hard when I help someone to just like, that's it, man. I don't, there's the thing. I'm done. Like, no exception, no expectation of reciprocation or anything, just like,
yeah,
we're good. Like, I try really hard to sort of embody that. I think that's important. I think it's important to make you a better person. You agree, disagree?
I agree.
Somewhat disagree.
No,
Somewhat agree.
it's. I went through this twice yesterday, but I was on both sides of it for different situations.
Yeah.
One was like somebody was doing something what seems like for free, but I know that like it's a doing it for free. However, I have the expectation later on,
Yeah.
like I'm like, oh, okay. But then, like I was on the other side of it yesterday too, like, driving my kids around to whatever the hell they're doing.
Yeah.
I don't think twice about it. And people,
Mhm.
there are plenty of people and friends and family that like look at our lives and go, "Are you crazy? Like you're going and doing all these things." Yeah, we enjoy it.
Yeah, what the hell else am I
Yeah,
gonna
it's
do?
well that
Whatever.
it's just
I like my
I
kids.
like my kids. So I
Yeah.
enjoy doing like
Yeah.
I enjoy that they're enjoying what they're doing.
Right.
But I one of them yesterday just pissed me off with some of the things that they weren't doing, and
Mhm.
that had nothing to do with the activity we're doing. And I
Yeah.
was like, as we were driving, I'm like, basically do you understand why I'm upset with you and everything? But then like I should have just left it at that. And then as we're driving, I go, I don't even have time for this. And I'm taking you all these places. I'm like, oh God, like eventually I'm like, now I'm professing that I'm going, like I'm doing this selflessly.
Right.
But now I've just said
But I've
to my child, like,
right.
that there's tit for tat,
Yeah.
basically.
Yeah.
And that was,
Well,
yeah.
So that's your kids.
Yeah, but it wasn't selfless at that point. It was me going like,
You're just frustrated.
true, but
I mean, you die for your kids.
Right.
I mean, like that's a thing people say, but I mean, I believe you would. But
Yeah.
like, I'm not saying do everything in your life selflessly because of some greater moral standard.
No.
That you need to be like Jesus or something. I'm saying make sure you're not being walked over. Like, learn to say no to people. I mean, that's important too.
Yeah.
But when you do something for someone, do it because of the love of doing it.
Yeah.
If it doesn't, like think about it for 10 seconds and come up with a framework for like why you would do something. Like, if that's the thing, you're going to do it without somebody owing you. What are the parameters you would do the thing in?
Yeah.
And just only do that. Like, whatever it takes. But like, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
You just don't be a doormat. That's not what I'm saying. But like, if you do something for someone, that's pretty much it. It should end there.
Yeah. There is a way to practice that. There's plenty of ways to practice it, but the one way that I practice it, and now I even feel bad about saying it, but like if I'm in line at some place, and maybe I've told you before, but if I'm in line someplace that we live close to a military base.
Yeah.
And think of a particular restaurant that I go to every once in a while, that there are a lot of military people that will eat at that same place. And if I see an All-American patch from 82nd Airborne on one of those people, I will, if I'm in front of them, I'll go to when I'm checking out, I'll say, that person right there, I'm paying for them as well. And then I'll pay and then I'll just walk out.
Right. You don't take a picture and put it on Instagram.
Right.
And what is it? Is it Shaq? Like, I love Shaq. But does he have to put every time he buys a kid a bicycle on fucking Instagram?
Oh, I didn't know.
I mean, I love the story, bro. But like, and I'm sure it's Shaq, so he probably does it 10,000 times, and it's the one that
sure.
And I'm a dick for even bringing it up. But like, it's my example of like, you're doing that, but you're not like,
right.
You don't tweet it like, just paid for my bro's lunch.
That is exactly what I'm saying. Like right here, me telling you, but also saying it on the podcast. Like I've just,
you just dirtied it, man.
I did.
Now you have to pay for that and everyone else. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
No, only if they have that patch. And then there's like a whole bunch of fuckers that walk in with 86nd Airborne. Like, oh, this is gonna be expensive. Damn it,
screwed up.
Yeah.
But I get it, man. And that's really cool. That's very cool. Let me tell you a story. It's the opposite of that. So one time I was one night I was training kind of late, not super late, but it's like 8:30 or whatever, and I was wearing my white karate gi, and it was cold, and I just put a jacket on over it. And the place where I train is right across the interstate, which is right almost next door to the hospital.
Yeah.
And I was in line, and then I was like, I got my Americana or whatever because it was late and I was going home and I needed to stay up a little bit longer, or whatever. And the cashier was like, "Oh, well, they just paid for your thing." And I was like, "Oh, thank you." And they were like, "Thank you for your hard work and service." And I was like, "Oh, they think I was a doctor or nurse or whatever because of the white pants." I was like, "Thanks," and I just took off. But they meant well.
Yeah, no.
I just think it was funny.
No, and that is funny.
So make sure you're not buying anybody's stolen valor dinner.
No, exactly. I every once in a while wear my All-American hat, but it's mainly because my name is Aaron and it's got a double A on it. And that's half of why I wear it. Yeah. But I used to have one that my mom gave me that said Black Ops.
Ooh.
Which would be but think about it.
That's cool.
It's a joke.
Yes.
It's a joke. Yeah. You don't tell people you're a spy.
Of course. Yeah.
If you're a spy.
So that's funny. Like, you mentioned that as a sidebar, but I had this whole argument with somebody, not a super passionate argument, but they were talking about the gray man. You notice the gray man, they're always like, they wear, like in the movies, they wear like a black hat, black t-shirt,
right,
black pants.
Yeah.
And they're like, got the 24-hour shave, and
right.
they're like walking around with their sunglasses. I'm like, that guy's the gray man. Like, it seems like the gray man would be the guy dressed like everybody's like high school dad.
Yeah.
Like you like the gray man's the one that's like
blends in.
He's not wearing the Black Ops hat.
Right, exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
Like the hat with no logo,
Has the dad bod. Yeah.
It's like, that's not the spy.
No.
It's the guy playing the spy.
Yes.
I'm just a dude dressed up like a dude playing another dude. Sorry, sidebar.
No.
My ADHD brain.
No, but I remember going to a Gamecock baseball game and and going up to Little Caesars, which I knew the owner, first of all, and I was in the military, but I had that hat on, and the guy's like,
give you shit over it?
No. He's like, hey man, thank you for your service, like, and I was like, you did not get the joke at all on my hat. I was like, thank you.
And the real military dudes are like, that's funny.
Yeah.
They're like, that's funny, bro. What's it so funny? All right, so gratitude. That's the last little bit here, but I think that's also, I mean, I don't know, maybe make you more tolerable around other people.
Tolerant to yourself too.
Yeah.
Yes.
But just practicing gratitude. And I don't know how many times I'm like, people are dying in the gym, like it's the last 3 minutes of a 20-minute workout or whatever, and I'm like, and when I need to pull the big guns out, I pull the big guns out. I'm like, just be thankful you can even do this. There are people that can't even do this, and it's like they change and they just like work a little bit harder.
Or do they say then have them do this?
No, they don't. No, it's kind of like you remember the Spartan races we did back when they were doing them at Fort Bragg.
Yeah,
and they were always the dudes with like no legs.
Yeah. Oh, I remember.
Like outrunning me. Like, how is
not only outrunning you, but going over the fucking big ladders and everything. Yeah,
wearing armor and like carrying a flag at the same time.
Yeah,
and my dumb ass
carrying
is like
their German Shepherd over.
Yeah, and I'm like, I can't even. I'm gonna die, and this guy just passes you, with no legs, and you're like, what the fuck? That was, I mean, that's one way to think about. Like, damn, I have my legs. Maybe I shouldn't bitch quite as much about this opportunity that I chose to do, that I paid to be here.
Is having a little bit of perspective on. I think it's interesting in a, back to your ADD brain, in Whoop now, Whoop has it has a daily diary or journal.
I saw that. I'm not really
the different things that you've done, anywhere from like, did you travel on a plane, snack between meals, have alcoholic drinks, but paired kind of together they just added these at the beginning of the year, I believe, or end of last year, is express gratitude.
Ooh.
And journal your thoughts.
That's cool.
And then, learn something interesting or important, make progress on an important goal, feel generally positive about the future. I mean, so,
I think,
but I think it was interesting that they did that.
It is.
That expressly, like,
it is,
express gratitude. Like,
practice it. I think it should become a habit. I mean, if you want to, if we're talking about self-improvement, I mean, you should definitely make some form of experiencing or expressing gratitude. It actually helps you experience it. Go figure. But, it's a way to build it as a habit, make it habitual in how you look at the world.
Yeah.
And I think that is, that's important for not being a jerk. I mean, I think about times when I'm being a jerk, and I'm just like being a shitty person. I'm treating people, I'm just like, meh, to people. It's usually because my gratitude is sort of out of whack.
Yep. I can see that.
I feel kind of like, well, that guy cut me off. The world's out to get me, like the world's not, dude. The world's kind of a big place, man. Nothing's out to get you, like
No, but it can put you into negative thoughts
yeah,
area,
it
and
can
then like
yeah.
then you can draw parallels between
Yep.
like, oh, this thing's leading to that thing,
Yep.
and then you can downward spiral.
Yeah, it's like that bad days does not mean a bad life.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Well, do you remember that movie? I know Jeremy Piven was in it, but it's called I think it's Very Bad Things.
Yeah.
Where they go on the
Yeah.
bachelor party
And they
to
kill
Vegas, they killed
the
the hooker,
prostitute.
yeah,
Yeah.
and then it just gets worse. And at the end, what
That's
is
how I
it?
know you were in the military, because you used the word hooker.
That's what's at Fort Bragg, I believe.
I know.
Or Vietnam. But yeah, it was just the bad things can beget bad things.
Yeah.
At the same time, gratitude and seeing the world differently, that can there's another thing to really put you to where, back to the positive thinking.
Yeah.
You say, how do you stop yourself from spiraling? Well, sometimes, if you can figure out how to slap yourself in the face and go, what's my let me change my perspective on this. Like, is
Yeah.
this the I look at my kids when they get in the car sometimes, and crying about something, which, listen, to them it is the worst thing in the world, whatever the hell it is, and I get it, and I don't try to make light of that. But I look at them and I go, is it the worst thing in the world? And then, they nod their head and said yes. And I go, well, whatever it is, I'm here to listen to you. And if you don't want to talk, that's fine as well. And no matter what it is, we can work it out. And, and what I'm asking them to do is just know that to stop, take a breath, and change their perspective just a slight bit. So, and maybe that's not on the gratitude side. I don't look at it and go, well, you should be happy that you're alive
I
and
didn't ask
express
to be born.
gratitude. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But but in order to spiral up instead of spiral down,
Yeah.
sometimes you have to change your perspective, have a little bit of gratitude about where you are, no matter how low it might be, so
Man.
that you can build on top of that. And instead of very bad things, you can have very good things and continue to build on top of that and get better and better.
Solid.
100%. Yeah.
100 friggin' percent, man. The last bit here, speaking of mentors, is what Coach Divine taught me. Master yourself, serve others. It's out of his book, but we have made this in the form of karate that we practice from my school up to my teacher school.
Mm-hmm.
This is a black belt testament. Master yourself, serve others. This is what it all boils down to, and we took this from him because he taught us this. And I think it's a good way to end it by talking about that. But the idea is that by mastering yourself, you can become more confident, capable, and effective in serving others. And that serving others is a natural and rewarding extension of mastering yourself. And I mean, the whole second half of this thing that we've been talking about, it's like a summary of that, It's like, make yourself better, do some things you need to do, but do it in service to others.
Yeah.
Like selflessly. And I think you will be probably the best version of you that you have ever seen.
Yeah.
If you do those things.
Well, I think, yes, I'm going to agree with what you just said.
Yeah.
So, I was listening to you. Second, I think this is actually it's a two-parter. Like, I don't think that you might be able to serve others without mastering yourself, and you will never.
Sure.
I mean, just like perfection, you will never fully master it.
Yeah, it's
anything.
implied. Yeah.
But I think about, like, I'm a big proponent of, I can't help you if I'm fucked up.
100%.
Like
100.
and again, in success literature, sometimes you hear it too, and like, the wealthier you are, the more people you can help. as well.
That's not
and people will look at it and
It's a
go,
way to look at it.
fuck you,
Yeah, but it's implied that you didn't step on the necks of hundreds of employees to get that money that you're then turning around and helping people. It's kind of like you're not doing
like whatever happened with FTX. Yeah,
from a net helping perspective,
right.
You're not helping that many people.
Right. But I look at it as look at it just in the physical perspective too. I can't help you if my foundation is bad.
That's right.
So like, think about like climbing or something like that, or I mean, just think about like a movie where somebody is trying to help the other person up from, they're dangling or whatever.
Right.
If I am not stable and have a good foundation,
I'm gonna fall too.
With 3 points of contact, we're gonna fall together.
Yeah.
And that's not a good thing.
Right.
Like I would rather be stable and help you up as opposed to us fall together.
Right. I mean, if you're in crisis, I mean, or some perceived, spectrum of crisis or whatever, in your personality or in your personal life or whatever, you can look to these things and look to others to be doing these things to help pull you up.
Sure.
Yeah, I think is where you're getting at. Maybe, maybe not, but
no, I just mean that like I can't help you if I'm fucked up.
Right.
And
you're in the other end of that spectrum.
Yeah. Yeah. And
it's okay.
No, and it's fine. And I mean, that's even like on a daily basis with kids or wife or whatever, like I can't even and sometimes I think that it can come off as selfish. Um, but like I can't like until I deal with some of the I mean, you've probably heard this, like especially since the 80s on, like I can't deal with you until I figure me.
Yeah.
And that's but so that's why I say I think it might be a two-parter, a two-step thing. Like get yourself straight.
Yep.
And yeah, you can help people as you're going through that. But if I've gone through shit, back to the mentor part, if I've started to master myself, then I'm in a lot better position to help you with whatever.
If you're doing it honestly and transparently.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't want to be going into a relationship to mentor someone and you're full of shit.
Right.
That's not going to help anybody.
But instead of being full of shit, like if you're in a position where like you need to help somebody, but you're not quite there yourself, that
just tell them that.
Then be honest. Like I'm not quite there yet.
Yeah.
But I'm maybe like a step ahead of you.
That's right.
So I can we can help each other out type thing.
Yep.
But I think
a battle buddy.
Yeah, exactly. Like this shit's gonna suck, and we can do it together.
Yeah.
So
yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
Man, we need to do this more often.
Yeah.
I know you don't love me anymore.
What?
I'm just kidding.
What just happened here? Are we breaking up?
No, I enjoy our conversations, man, and
Me too.
I think people get a lot out of it.
I hope so.
This was a long one, but I think it was cool. Master yourself, serve others.
Sounds good.
Let's do it.
All right.
Thank you, man.
Cheers.